Today, we journey through the life of Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, a story of ambition, secrecy, power, and consequences that have shaped the world. Vladimir Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in the battered city of Leningrad, now called St. Petersburg, just a few years after the end of World War II. His father was a factory foreman and a wounded war veteran. His mother, a devout Orthodox Christian, worked at a canteen. The Putins lived in a communal apartment, sharing a bathroom and kitchen with other families. Vladimir was small, shy, and hot-tempered, a boy who learned to fight in the courtyard to earn respect. "I was just a scrawny kid, but I learned quickly. You have to hit first, and you have to hit hard." At age 11, he began practicing judo, eventually earning a black belt, a discipline he would keep for life. But what fascinated him most wasn't sports, it was espionage. As a teenager, Putin idolized Soviet spies. He visited the local KGB office asking how to join. They told him to study law and keep his record clean. Putin did just that, earning a law degree at Leningrad State University. In 1975, he joined the KGB, the Soviet Union's feared intelligence agency. After years of training, he was posted to East Germany in the 1980s in the city of Dresden as a mid-level KGB officer. It was a quiet, gray life, gathering intelligence, recruiting informants, shredding files as the Berlin Wall fell. In 1989, as East Germany collapsed, Putin saw the Soviet Empire begin to crumble. "I stood there, helpless, as everything we worked for dissolved overnight. Nobody came from Moscow to help. Nobody answered the phone." The humiliation of the Soviet collapse would shape his worldview forever. In 1990, Putin returned to Leningrad. The Soviet Union was dying and Russia was in chaos. Inflation, crime, and corruption soared. Putin began working for his old law professor Anatoly Sobchak, now the reformist mayor of Leningrad. Putin proved loyal, discreet, and efficient, handling foreign investors, arranging deals, and overseeing Sobchak's security. When Sobchak lost re-election, Putin moved to Moscow and caught the eye of Russia's president, Boris Yeltsin. In Moscow, Putin rose fast. By 1998, he was head of the FSB, the KGB's successor. In August 1999, Yeltsin shocked the world by appointing the little-known Putin as prime minister. Few outside Moscow had even heard of him. But that would soon change. Later that year, bombs destroyed apartment buildings in Moscow, killing hundreds. Putin blamed Chechen separatists and launched a devastating war in Chechnya. On TV, he promised to hunt down the terrorists even in the outhouse. Russians, tired of weakness, loved his tough talk. On December 31, 1999, Yeltsin resigned and handed power to Putin, saying, "I've done all I could. Russia needs a strong hand. I wish him luck." Putin became acting president of Russia. In March 2000, Vladimir Putin was elected president outright. At his inauguration, he vowed to restore Russia's greatness. His first term saw a recovering economy, fueled by rising oil prices. Wages grew, pensions were paid, and the chaos of the 1990s began to fade. But so did Russia's fragile freedoms. Independent media outlets were pressured or shut down. Oligarchs who opposed Putin were jailed or exiled. Critics disappeared or were silenced. We didn't notice it at first, the walls closing in, but they did, and then it was too late. Putin's war in Chechnya continued through his first years. Russian forces flattened cities, killing thousands. In 2002, Chechen militants seized a Moscow theater. More than 100 hostages died when Russian special forces pumped gas into the building. In 2004, terrorists attacked a school in Beslan, killing over 300 people, many of them children. Putin responded by tightening his grip, abolishing elections for regional governors, and centralizing power. We will strike them everywhere. We will never forgive. We will never forget. After 2 terms, Putin stepped aside in 2008 as Russia's constitution required, but handpicked Dmitry Medvedev as president and became prime minister. In 2012, he returned to the presidency amid mass protests accusing him of rigging the election. But the protests faded and Putin tightened his grip yet again. In 2014, Ukraine's pro-Russian president was overthrown in Kyiv. Putin responded by sending troops first covertly into Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, annexing it outright. Crimea has always been part of Russia. We could not abandon it. The West imposed sanctions. Relations with the United States and Europe soured. That same year, a Malaysian airliner was shot down over eastern Ukraine, killing nearly 300. Western investigators blamed Russian-backed rebels. In 2015, Putin sent Russian troops to Syria to prop up Bashar al-Assad's regime, turning the tide of the civil war. Russian jets bombed opposition strongholds, often killing civilians. Putin positioned himself as a power broker in the Middle East and a thorn in America's side. He also deepened ties with China while funding and encouraging far-right movements in Europe. At home, Putin faced growing dissent. Opposition figures like Boris Nemtsov were murdered. Others, like Alexei Navalny, were poisoned with nerve agents, then jailed. He cannot kill everyone, and he cannot imprison the truth. But the Kremlin cracked down harder, each time labeling opponents foreign agents and outlawing protests. On February 24, 2022, Putin launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, expecting a quick victory. Instead, Russian forces were met with fierce resistance. The war dragged on, killing tens of thousands and isolating Russia further. Western sanctions deepened. Putin framed the war as a fight against NATO and Western decadence, casting himself as Russia's defender. Today, Vladimir Putin remains in power, a fixture in the Kremlin for nearly a quarter century. To his supporters, he restored Russia's pride after the humiliation of the Soviet collapse. He stood up to the West. He made Russia strong again. He is our father. He protects us. Without him, Russia would fall apart. To his critics, he is an autocrat who silenced dissent, crushed democracy, and brought war back to Europe. He is not Russia. He is its tragedy. Vladimir Putin's story is far from over. He has outlasted rivals, crises, and predictions of his downfall. His power endures, but at what cost? The man who climbed from the courtyards of Leningrad to the Kremlin's gilded halls, the spy who became a president, the president who became a czar, his name is Vladimir Putin, and his shadow will loom over Russia and the world for years to come. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Leaders' Legacies. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it. Until next time, I'm your host.